Hey, welcome to Press Start, where we take it from concept to console. And here we have Eve Starlight, professional game tester, here with us today. It's nice to have you here.
Hi.
Hi. Could you tell us what first got you into game testing and sort of what surprised you most when you got into it professionally?
Well, what got me into game testing was technically my love for games. That was the most important thing. And frankly speaking, anyone who loves gaming would definitely end up being in this place where I want to see where I can earn and at the same time enjoy. So that's what got me interested. And that's when I came across a few platforms online and which showed me that I can technically freelance by doing playtesting with multiple studios online. And so I was like, okay, why not? So I jumped into those things and I was like, okay, let's try it out. First few times were a lot of headache, frankly, because it was new and technically it was so repetitive that it gave me a headache. So yeah, but then later on, eventually it gave me a clear idea and I was able to set on it really well. So
Would you say that's like a common misconception in a way, that a lot of people see game testing as a way to just play games and earn from it, but then they don't see the side of it where it can feel very monotonous here and
right.
there? Yeah.
But the fact is that QA, even though it's so important, it's not being valued as much. Because so far back in the days when I actually started the playtesting, they considered this as you mentioned, that you're just playing games. So what are you exactly doing in it? But you're wrong. You're not just playing games. You're technically viewing the entire concept. You're checking the details. That's where the testing happens. It's the similar thing when you're testing a software, for example. So let's just say that you want to test an application. What do? You're not just using the application, right? So that's the same thing with games when it comes to that. You check the visuals, the code, how it functions. Sometimes play testers don't even need to see the code. They just need to feel the game, how fun it is.
I mean, it's taken for granted a lot nowadays, especially how there's big open betas for games where a lot of companies will just release a game for free for testing, and it's sort of taking away a lot of what game testing really is about, because the majority of players will not report these bugs. They'll just play the game and then leave it be.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why there have been multiple platforms online which do these services where there is a guaranteed result of a player who's playing and giving the result. People who put up for the beta testing, either they are satisfied with what they have done and they don't plan on progressing, they just want a feedback, or either there are some people who just can't afford to go there, because there are a lot of indies nowadays who are growing much more than any bigger studios. Technically, most of the big studios, like for example Ubisoft, they all have their own playtesting team, so they don't technically go for outsourcing unless it's demographic reasons.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, could you walk us through a typical testing cycle, all the way from submitting those first builds to submitting the bug reports all the way at the end?
Sure. So, well, the process starts from the point where, okay, I can explain you in a way where there are two forms. The first one is when you are getting a direct commission from someone as a freelancer, or when you're getting it through a middleman. There are two paths. So first one is when you're directly connecting with the developer. They send you the game builds and they will ask you, we would like you to play test your game for a certain duration of the time, and we would like you to report on XYZ test cases that we have listed here. And based on those test cases, either they record how you're playing, what you're playing, and the expressions on the face. Sometimes those people even record the face camera. And then based on those things, they make up a decision on how the game is. In the end of the testing duration, they will ask a few questions and we'll just have to give them an answer that I felt this could be fixed, but this seems really amazing. I mean, of course, as a tester, your job is not just to give bads and cons. No, you're supposed to even give what are pros, so they know where to even grow their side. So that's one of the best things you need to focus on too. And when you're going through a commission for someone like a middleman who was going with, they will give you a test cases based on whatever the studio has provided them. So technically they are just protecting the outsourcing person, the person who is trying to reach you, by keeping their data safe and just giving you the details of what needs to be tested, what the game is about. If you feel like it, go ahead and test. and then you play the game for it's the same process, but you play, this one is a little different, this is not live.
Yeah.
Some are live, some are not. And depends on the type of test they want. Sometimes some people want stress tests. Stress tests are not technically where you are checking where they are stressed out. Some people technically go in that part, but no, it's not like that. Stress test is technically to check how much of a stress can a server take, and how many people can play together at the same time, and what bugs do come across during those phases. That's the time where you play together live. Once the play testing is finished, you submit a feedback. There is going to be a feedback form that will be provided to you once the testing period is over, and then you just state out the details of what you experienced and what you faced, what were the bugs, what were the glitches, what were the issues that you did not like just in general, and what are the best suggestions and advices you think we can improve on.
That makes sense. Well, see, like you talked a lot about a lot of clients and a lot of different workflows, but see, like as a graphic designer, we have these things we usually don't like hearing from a client back and forth. You know? The very common frustrations of just saying, hey, just make it for me sort of thing. What sort of, frustrations do a lot of clients bring out of you? You can be honest here.
Okay. Technically, I'll be very blunt and honest on this. Personally, I have rarely faced that issue. Why? Is because I know when to be rude and when not to be rude. So I am well aware when someone puts in an effort into making something, whether if it's food, games, software, application, whatever it is, you're putting your soul and heart into it. It's an effort. And when you are trying to sabotage or steal them like, oh, this is very bad, that will hurt them. So maybe let's try to find right terms and right phases where you could say, this taste was good, but where I feel that you could do some changes are these points. If you do this, then I feel that this would be amazing. It will be even fantastic than what you have presented. What does that give you? That gives them, oh yeah, maybe there's some improvement I can do. Means this is good, but I can be better. That's the phase you need to show them. If you just give critics, they are never gonna grow. That's the whole fact.
That makes sense. Well, you mentioned a lot of different kinds of testing. There's a little trivia question I have for you, maybe to not just entertain, but educate some people on the other end, because a lot of people have misconceptions about these two terms.
Right.
In testing, what is the difference between a bug and a glitch?
Okay. So technically, I'll be very short in these terms. They're very direct, frankly, and a technical person should be able to understand this in a very simple term. Bugs, which you are coming across when you are facing some kind of mechanical issues. Let's just say that the player is technically running in the field, okay, but the issue is that it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not stopping where it's supposed to stop. And a glitch is where, you're technically passing through walls, you're sliding through the slides. Okay, that's not supposed to be happening. Those are the two different things that I have come across. When it's a bug, it doesn't really depend even on the player experience. Let's just say it could be something around where, okay, the server suddenly disconnected. Why? So that could be one of the connection issues. Network issues, the ping, you are actually running but your player is not moving forward, those things. So those are the two different types I feel like. As I mentioned, glitches are not very different from bugs, but they are mainly visualized, whereas the bugs are more towards the code side of things, where the server is not connected properly, it's getting disconnected again, and so on.
That makes sense. I've heard a lot of people say that a bug is something you can reproduce again and again, and a glitch is almost like a random thing in the engine that breaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
But glitch is still something that you can possibly reproduce, but only in certain times. Like for example, there's a repetitive phase sometimes. Like for example, I'll just say like there's a gate, and when you're trying to pass through it, you freeze in the center. Now, that happened once. Oh wow, I should disconnect or reconnect the game and try again. And this time, I try to do again, it happened. This is a repetitive one. So now you can record it. So you can technically recreate even glitches. But there's sometimes when I mention like, let's say that it happens once, but doesn't happen again. Oh, it happened once, but when I went again, it didn't happen. So I guess maybe there was some other issue and it clashed with it. but bugs usually can be repeated because they keep on happening again and again.
That makes sense. Well, on the, I guess, software and networking perspective, what tools do you use on a day-to-day basis? And how do you stay organized using a lot of these tools? Because there's some very common ones for a lot of design aspects, but for game testing, I don't think a lot of people really know what goes on the software side of things.
Yeah, well, to be honest, really when it comes to gameplay testing specifically, there are no need of softwares, frankly. Yeah, but there are some times where you need to make sure that you're keeping track of the bugs. Like, for example, let's just say that you are actually an employee, not a freelancer, but an employee in a company where you're trying to test a game they have built. What you do is, basically some of the platforms are Jira, one of the best ones I have come across so far, and I've loved using it so far. It helps you keep track of all the bugs that you have come across. And you can even go back to those same issues and test it again with the help of these things. And it mainly is to keep record. Technically, it doesn't really help you to do the play testing. It's just to keep the record.
That makes sense. Okay, now on the topic of the games you've actually tested, because I'm assuming there's a lot of games that might have stood out to you over time of testing so many things. Are there any games you might want to mention, maybe experiences you'd like to share?
Sure. So far, what I can come up at the top of my mind out of all 200 games that I have tested, I believe the best ones that have stood out were both close to my heart was one, the Choo Choo Charles, and the second one was World of Haiku. Both of the games brought such joy and experience that, especially someone who really is very uncomfortable with horror, I was able to enjoy the Choo Choo Charles game while playtesting it. And well, back then the game was not that buggy, but it was buggy a little. But the enjoyment was fun, and the playtesting, the repetitive feeling of the game was scary. And the second game was the World of Haiku, which technically is not out there anymore, but it was there back in the day, and it taught people how to do ethical hacking from the scratch, like basic core. And the other few games there have been is most of them have been small games, which are not actually out there, but some of them like steampunk, which is like subterranean. If you could say that. Subterranean have many series, and one of them is like, it's an RPG, which is a retro style game. And it's a really cool 4-player game. I mean, actually they can be co-op. You can play it single player, and you can play it with computer as well. And it was really fantastic experience to try those 3 games, and I really enjoyed them.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up a little bit here. There's only a couple more questions, but how do you work with developers to make sure the issues actually get fixed right away? Because I'm assuming there's a bit of a time crunch, especially when there's a release date ahead. How do you get there in time?
So, okay, when it comes to you being an employer and trying to do that, then the best thing that you do is when you have the records set, the developers will get back to you that, okay, so based on the report that you have provided to me, it seems that the things that I need to focus on is to fix the main bugs, which can cause playing experience issues. So to avoid those major bugs, they focus on those things. Then they give you a timeline that I believe that within 1 week, 2 weeks or so, we should be able to fix these core points. And then once they are done with that, they will provide me with the game again. Now, I usually have never ever needed to go back to them and tell them. Usually they have been the one to approach me. But sometimes there have been cases where since I was a freelancer, so I never really needed to go out there, but every now and then when I was interested in a game, like there was one of the game I tested for flash bulbs, and it's something that I shouldn't mention. I guess it's not out there, Trailmakers. So it was something really fun, because the game was completely like you have to build your own turbo robots and car and you need to drive through. And when I was trying that, the first time I did it for free, because well, technically I did want to help them, and secondly it was quite fun to try with something. And when I did that, later on, I approached them again. I asked them like, hey, what's the situation with the game? It seems that I've noticed that the game is going to be soon released. So is the game bugs cleared now? Then he responded me back saying, oh, hey Eve, that's nice hearing back from you. And yes, so far the game is running really smoothly, but we will need your help this time. And don't worry, we will pay you. So yeah, that is how we build connections first. And that's how he was able to approach me, and I was able to get back the feedback of what I gave.
Okay, well, on a final note, especially getting into the industry around here and also game testing, which is sort of something a lot of people don't consider early on, even as a career. What's your biggest piece of advice for students who want to get into QA and understand it better, especially with future developers in mind?
Seeing the current industry in MENA specifically, I'll mention, there are lots of studios which are trying to grow, trying to build and trying to get out there. But most of those people, they don't have that support of play testers. So currently what I believe is you can try to go up there, prepare yourself for it, be in mind that you have to repeat the same level over and over and over again, and you will feel the frustration. Sometimes you have to sit for 5 straight hours to test a game. So there can be many phases, but you'll need to try and overcome those challenges, and at the same time make sure you have a notebook and a pen, or at least you have a strong memory, because you need to make down your making notes, taking screenshots, making video screen recording, so in case you want to submit a video recording of something like, oh, I noticed this bug. So visual bugs presentations are much more smoother and helpful than any written statements, because in written you have to state like, I just moved my cursor to this location and then the cursor suddenly glitched over there. How did it glitch? That I saw some lines moving and it stopped working after that point. And when I clicked on it, it stopped working entirely and the game froze. So you have to give very in-depth detail. But if it's a visual thing, it makes things much more easier for them and for you, because they don't need to recreate it. It's there. So that's how I would recommend them to be the best as possible when you're describing bugs, and please be humble and polite so you don't hurt their feelings too much.
That makes sense. Well, before we end things, is there anything you'd like to share or promote to our audience?
Well, currently what I would like to state is I'm running a startup company now, which is Nova Dreamer Studio. I'm just trying to grow it. We're getting out there. And currently we have 2 games we are planning to release soon. One of them is Saving Private Teddy and the other one is Highway to the Danger Zone. The trailers are out there, by the way. I will share with you the links. You can go through it. It's really fun. And please do make sure to stay tuned, because we are having a lot of things coming up soon into our company, and you will be enjoying the games.
We're really excited for that. But on a final note, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing all this knowledge to everyone interested in all of this. And this has been Concept to Console. Just remember to never stop learning.